Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Blink Charging, ticker symbol BLNK. And I will also be comparing this ticker with Rivian, ticker symbol RIVN, because they have both been forming similar patterns. And I also think there's a prior example of what this pattern could lead to with Rivian. So I'll be going over that in just a second. But I wanted to start with Blink here because I have talked about this recently in videos as well as streams that Blink needs to close above $2.50, and on Monday, April 29th, Blink closed at a price of $2.52, being a whopping 2 pennies above that key level. So I do think that is pretty important, but I think this is also a good lesson on confirmation because I think we still need that. And so I have gone over in previous videos and streams that the high following this downward move and consolidation, the high during this consolidation was hit on April 18th, and that was at a price of $2.49, being just below $2.50. So I have been saying that we need to be getting a close above $2.50. So we did get that. And so I do believe that is confirmation that we have broken above this level and we have broken this bearish or bear flag pattern that we have been forming. However, since this is the first close above $2.50, which I view as a psychological level because we think in dollar bills and quarters, $2.50 is a pretty key level. It's a quarter of $10. And so I think it's important for us to be getting multiple closes above that level. And right now we have only seen one, with the high on the day being $2.54. So I think that this is kind of in neutral territory right now, that this could be breaking out, breaking higher above this level, but it could also still be a fake out. And so what I do think would be shifting this into the favor of the bulls would be a close above Monday's high, which was $2.54. So I would look for that either on Tuesday or Wednesday. But on Wednesday, there is the FOMC meeting. I do think that will trigger a lot of volatility in the market. And so if Blink is not closing above 254 on Tuesday, that could be meaning that the stock is not really in that secure of a position. If there is volatility on Wednesday, that could drive it lower, and then we could still see this bear flag pattern in play. So I would really look for a close above $2.54 and or a test, a pullback of $2.50, but then a close above. If we get a wick below 250, but then we close above, that could be suggesting that 250 is now serving as support. So still, I do view this as being fairly precarious, but given that we've gotten a close above 250, it is looking stronger. But what I think would really make the stock look good is getting a secondary close above 250, ideally above 254, and that would suggest confirmation of not only a breakout out of this bear flag pattern that would be negated, but also a breakout above $2.50, a close at $2.54, ideally higher than that, would be suggesting a confirmation of a breakout of 250. So I think that's really good. But with all of that being said, and this pattern looking like a bear flag with earnings coming up on May 9th, if we are still residing around these levels, around this purple uptrend or $2.50, if we're still residing around those levels before earnings, that could be suggesting some weakness. I would expect a breakout before earnings. So if we're not seeing that, I do think that could mean that there is going to be a rejection. There could be a retracement to either $2.22 or perhaps lower, like $2 or $1.91, which is based on this 1618 extension from this Fibonacci retracement here, which I've gone over in previous videos and streams. And so, I don't think we're out of the woods just yet, but I do think that, a close above $2.50 is really good. So there's a lot more hope now. And really, when thinking about stocks, when thinking about patterns, it's all about probabilities. There's never a 100% guarantee. This daily action that we've seen, this close above $2.50, has shifted the probabilities into the favor of the bulls. So I think that's really good. But, anyways, before I get onto more about Blink, I did want to switch over to Rivian because it does have a similar kind of pattern. Down moves followed by consolidation and getting a breakout, a close above these prior highs following these down moves. And so the highest high that we saw during this consolidation was hit on April 23rd, which was at a price of $9.24. And so we did get a close above that today on Monday at a price of $9.38, being up nearly 4% on the day. So that is looking really good. But again, there's no confirmation. And so that confirmation would be a secondary close above this high and above the daily high from today, Monday, April 29th, and the high was $9.41. So ideally, we can see a close on Tuesday above $9.41. I do think that could be setting the stock up for some big moves, either leading up to or following earnings, which are on May 7th. So both of these stocks do have earnings right around the corner, and these earnings are following this pattern, this bearish pattern, bear flag consolidation. And so if we're not seeing a breakout and confirmation before earnings, I do think that could mean further downside. And I think Rivian is a great example of a bear flag pattern before earnings that breaks to the downside, because that is exactly what happened during their last earnings call, or I should say leading up to it. We saw this big down move, consolidation above what I thought was support based on these two pivot points over here, but the reality was it was actually below resistance based on these two pivot points, the all-time low before this big rally, and then following that, the low prior to this smaller rally. And so those were two very important pivot points, and we were seeing consolidation below that level before earnings and following earnings. So earnings was on February 21st. The day after that, we saw a, over 25% drop in the stock price following this formation of a bear flag. So if we are seeing a bear flag now with earnings coming up, that could mean further downside, potentially breaking below $8 a share. But I do think that what we're seeing not only in Rivian, but also in Blink is a potential breakout and negating the bear flag signals that we're seeing. And so I would look for sustained closes above for Rivian. Let's see, that is a price of $9.24, the high on the 23rd. We need to be seeing multiple closes above that level, ideally above $9.41. And especially with the FOMC meeting coming up, we don't want to be seeing prices dropping following that. But if we do see a big drop in either Rivian or Blink before earnings, that could mean that that was an overreaction and that the price is undervalued for what we are expecting following earnings. And then if there is a pullback before earnings, we could then maybe see the bottom and a rally following earnings. So, there are two potential options on the table for bullish moves. But, there's also the continued downside for both of these stocks, as we have seen what looks like to be bear flag consolidation, but they also might be breaking out to the upside as we do see stronger closes. Hopefully those continue on Tuesday, and hopefully the FOMC meeting does not affect them to the downside much. Hopefully these levels like 924 for Rivian and 249 for Blink. Hopefully those levels serve as support if there is to be a pullback during Wednesday following the FOMC meeting. And if that does act as support, I do think that could then be serving as the launch pad for moves higher, breaking above this uptrend, potentially out from this descending triangle that I've pointed out with Blink. But of course, this is a bigger picture bearish pattern, and we have been seeing bearish moves in both of these stocks. So it is good to be prepared for further downside, but there might be some hope with these recent higher closes that we've seen. And so I am very curious to see what the closes are for Tuesday. And if they are higher than Monday's closes, I think things are looking pretty good. But, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching.